10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
And live once again, the Competition Plus Power Hour. I'm Lee Kraft, aka the Monday Morning Racer, and over there, dang, got it wrong again. Over there, it is Darren Williams Jr., the assistant editor for CompetitionPlus.com, aka American Hot Rod Entertainment. Darren, we have got a stacked show tonight.
Man, how cool is this? How about it? All four number one seeds in the countdown to the championship are gracing us with their presence here on the Competition Plus Power Hour here on this Tuesday night. We got a great jam-packed show. I can't even talk right now because I'm so excited. Justin Ashley, Ron Capps, Dallas Glenn, Gage Herrera. It's a stacked show, man. And I'll tell you what, how about it? It is championship time in the NHRA, a 6-race sprint to the championship, to capturing NHRA glory. Man, this is an awesome time, a fun time. And like I said, I can't talk because I'm so pumped up. Let's get after it.
Right, we're past the time of whose drag race is it anyway, where the points don't matter and the rules are made up, and we are in a real time of where the points matter, and the rules certainly do apply. Participation trophy out the window because the boys and the men are going to be separated, and let the gals and the ladies too in drag racing. Whoever's on top is going to be on top, and it is going to be decided over the next races that we have ahead of us. Rolling in first, Maple Grove Raceway. Once again, shout out to the Koretsky's for taking that place in ownership and even rejuvenating it, not just owning it, but rejuvenating it and continuing to work to make it that much more of a premier facility. Yeah. Obviously, for years now, a historic facility, a facility known that conditions right, you're going to see spectacular runs and times and mile per hour, but they are doing the facility updates and work to bring that part with the mystique that is around it. And it is good work that they're doing there in Reading, near Reading, Pennsylvania. So Koretsky's, thank you. We're going to be rolling in there first. I was looking forward to chat with the folks that we're going to have tonight, these individuals that are leading the way. But there's a lot of other competitors that want to be leading the way at the end of Maple Grove.
No, for sure, for sure. And like you mentioned that in all four of our professional categories, I mean, outside of Pro Stock Motorcycle, you could say Gage is the heavy favorite, but in Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock, it is wide open right now. Like, it is wide open. You can't pick a clear-cut favorite right now. That's how wide open it is. And that's just going to make it that much more interesting and entertaining for the fans watching at home, seeing this battle play out, because I do believe, especially in Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock, it's going down to Pomona. And it could be final round at Pomona. That's how good it's going to be. That's what I believe.
I agree. I mean, we had great championship chases last year, and we have it shaping up once again that it's going to be just as good, if not better, this year. If you're out there and you're saying about this day and time and drag racing sucks and, fuel cars don't make it down the track and Pro Stock is boring, I don't know what you're watching, because we are getting some of the best drag racing, I think, run by run, that NHRA professional drag racing has, well, frankly, ever experienced.
No, and I definitely agree with that. And we're going to see some great racing, like you mentioned, this upcoming weekend at Reading, Pennsylvania. You talked about all the work that the Koretsky family has done to that facility. You can go and check that out on social media, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and see all the upgrades they're making to the House of Chaos is what they're calling it now. But Maple Grove has always been one of my favorite races on the tour. Like you mentioned, so much history at that racetrack. One of my favorite moments, first side-by-side 4, 1989, Shirley and Amato. I mean, one of the best runs in Top Fuel history. Daryl Gwynn ended up winning the race, but you talk about all the national records that's been set there, especially when that race was when it was in October, early October, when it was like foggy and misty and just super cold. I'm sure you've been there at that time. That's when Maple Grove was really fun. Haven't checked the temperature for this weekend, but we always know Maple Grove, the House of Chaos, can be bad fast, and I believe it's going to be bad fast this weekend as well, and a great way to kick off the countdown to the championship.
Certainly, and so many memorable moments. It's memorable for me. First time I ever go to Maple Grove, I also take the time and I throw myself out there. I volunteer with the New Englander funny car team. Paul Weiss and the gang allowed me to help them out. And no credentials, nothing. I sneaked to the line. First time I ever got to the line at an NHRA drag race and stand behind a funny car at launch, Mike Smith driving. And that very moment has propelled me to even right here tonight. So Maple Grove definitely has a special place in my heart and was right behind because Mike Smith, the New Englander, were the first funny car up, was right behind Brittany Force when she made that stellar pass and established a new, well, not just national, but honestly international ET record.
So you're there for that 362 then. You were there. That's nice. Awesome. I actually seen the video on your YouTube channel covering the New Englander team. Try saying New Englander Nitro Funny Car Team 10 times fast. I know I can do it.
New Englander Nitro Funny Car Team.
10 times fast.
Oh, 10. No, we don't got enough time.
You wouldn't have enough time for that.
We don't have enough time for that. It takes, it's a long time. Hey, they're going to be in competition, guys. I hope you have a good weekend. And Corey Lee, is Corey Lee still behind the wheel?
I believe so. I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard any changes. So I believe Corey Lee is behind the wheel. And so look forward to Corey Lee. You guys all know, longtime funny car driver, talented funny car driver, has worked on a lot of teams, can get it done behind the wheel, tuner wise. Corey Lee, he's a true funny car driver, true nitro driver. And so good luck to him this weekend in Reading, Pennsylvania.
For sure. Look, we have got a lot that we can talk about. I know that me and Darren were discussing, we want to talk about the schedule. We can talk about Midwest Drag Racing Series. They had a spectacular event up there at Martin, Martin, Michigan, US 131 and Motorsports Park, and drag racing all around. We can talk about regional action there at Tri-State Raceway. Dude, Tri-State Raceway is such a nice facility there in the state of Iowa, and only like 10 minutes away from Dyersville, Iowa, where the Field of Dreams is. So cool that these two Americana things are so close to each other, but beautiful facility. So we can talk some regional action. I was up there covering that. Bob McCosh gets the win in Alcohol Funny Car, and Jared Dreer gets a win in Top Alcohol Dragster. And very quickly, before we have our first guest come on in just a few moments, I do want to give a shout out to a young lady. We've had her on the show before, playing out and accomplishing her dreams, Ida Zetterstrom.
Yeah.
She wins the FIA European Drag Racing Championship title in Top Fuel. Congratulations, Ida. And got to talk with her briefly at the U.S. Nationals. She's got a dream to come over here and do drag racing in Top Fuel. And I believe she is certainly marching her way forward to doing that. But congratulations on the championship across the pond.
Nah, for sure. And I actually seen her in India as well. Didn't get a chance to talk to her, but she was hanging out at the U.S. Nationals, like you said. And congratulations to her. We had her on the show earlier this year. Me and Sam Smith interviewed her, and just what a great guest she was. And you could tell the passion and just really, how much love she has for drag racing and driving Top Fuel. And what I thought was cool also is I was following along on social media, and out there in Europe, never really seen them race at night before. I've seen them race at night in Australia, but never really in Europe. So I thought that was pretty cool to see Ida, lighting up the nighttime sky with the flames at night over there in Europe. That was pretty cool. But congratulations to her and her team on the championship. And hopefully we see her in the States sometime soon.
Night drag racing over there doesn't really occur except with the nitro cars at Hockenheim Marine, the Nitro Olympics there in Germany, where it's a part of the F1 course, the drag strip is, and they're using that arena side for it, and they put on a show. It is a big show for them. So they purposely even turn down the lights, and there's fireworks involved in pyro and colored lights and the light of a Top Fuel dragster and fuel funny car. But weather delayed them into the night at Santa Pod, and shout out to the people that are working at Santa Pod Raceway. There are photos of them working their tails off to get that event in. Look, the European drag racers, they love their drag racing. There's not as many over there as there are here in the States, but those that are over, they are hardcore. Hardcore for their drag racing. And it's all across the board. Nostalgia drag racing, fuel racing, and sportsman racing, as we would understand it. Some cool cars are over there. I can't wait. I got to get over there eventually, man.
It's funny, and this may be just a crazy idea, but you know what I was thinking of? So we all know I'm a huge basketball fan, right? I say it all the time. Well, obviously what just ended was the FIBA World Championships. Obviously, the greatest, all the countries, bring their basketball teams to one place in the country and they duke it out. And obviously USA did not walk away with the gold, which is very surprising. But I was thinking, I'm like, the global game in basketball has gotten so much better to where they can beat the Americans now in basketball. I'm like, well, obviously, the parts and just the technology is so much more advanced than, in other countries. But obviously there's a thing called the Nitro Olympics, but what if there was an actual world championships of drag racing to where you bring the top 3 top field cars in the nation of America and the top 3 in Australia and then the top 3 in Europe, and they duke it out for, the gold medal or something like that, or, with Pro Mod or something like that. I thought that would be really cool. I thought about that when I was watching the FIBA World Championships. It was like, what if we had that in drag racing? See who's the best in the world. I thought that would be cool. Just an idea.
I completely agree. And I think there are such events with the World Series of Pro Mod that they could maybe make some room for some international flair within it and work out a rules package or something of that nature, or someone from across the way, like, I don't know, take, for example, Thomas Natus, a legendary name over there in Europe, and rent a Pro Mod over here and do some drag racing in the World Series of Pro Mod. So that would be cool. And look, all it would take is someone with a big checkbook. That's it. we could work it out, but it would take a big checkbook for sure. But I would love to see that. And I mean, honestly, Darren, though it is the U.S. Nationals, it really is the international nationals.
Yeah, that is true.
And what I mean by that, honestly, is that is the biggest drag race in the world. If you win at Indy, you have won over the world in all reality. Nothing against anyone in Australia, nothing against anyone in Europe, nothing against anyone doing drag racing down in Thailand. Yes, they do have that down there, and a wild bike drag racing scene down there. Granted, if you win at Indy, you've won on the biggest and grandest stage of them all in drag racing.
Oh, no, definitely. You remember, it's not too much like this now, but back in the day, the U.S. Nationals, it brought over NHRA guys. It brought over guys from overseas. This is the place where everybody congregate, that one race that they want to win. So, no, I definitely do agree with that. Like you said, the U.S. Nationals is the granddaddy of them all. If you win that, you've done a lot. Before we move on, because I know we're about to bring on Dallas Glenn, we had a question here from Andrew, and he said, he says, what's the farthest back realistically somebody can start in the countdown and win? So, I would say we've seen it before. Robert Height, he came back from 10th and went all the way to win the championship. He got in the final race of the U.S. Nationals and went from 10th all the way to the championship, won 3 races in the countdown, Charlotte, Dallas, and Las Vegas, and locked it up in qualifying Pomona. So we've seen somebody come back from the bottom. Obviously, there's more than 10 spots now, but we've seen somebody come back from 10th to win a championship. Right. Robert Height, 2009. So it can be done. Very rare, but it can be done.
It can be done. This reset allows that individual from the very last position to go to first. It is now the time to get hot going into this countdown. Well, the first guest we're going to have on tonight is Dallas Glenn. He is the #1 seed in NHRA Camping World Pro Stock competition. Darren with his stats on the regular season.
Oh, Dallas Glenn, 00 Dallas. Remember, had that great rookie season a couple years ago. Rookie of the year in 2021. Came back with a win at the Gator Nationals last year in 2022, but has put together one of the best years of his career so far. Career year so far for Dallas Glenn. 4 wins and 7 final round appearances so far here in 2023. 2 #1 qualifiers. He's your #1 seed heading into the 2023 Pro Stock Countdown to the Championship. 00 Dallas. Dallas Glenn is next.
Thank you, Weldon High Performance, for your support of the show. And thank you, Dallas Glenn, for your time coming here on the Competition Plus Power Hour. Now, Dallas, we're going to ask each and every #1 tonight 2 questions. And we don't want the politically correct answers. We want the honest to God truth. All right? Because we had Matt Hartford on last week, and he was like, the media needs to be talking about this. So we're going to talk about it. Dallas, do you like the current points format, or what is it that you would like to see it as?
Well, honestly, this year I do not at all. Obviously I had a really good lead coming into Indy. Now, if we talk about last year, yes, I absolutely did like it. We were getting our butts kicked pretty hard last year, so it kind of what it is going into it, and I'm fine with whatever they choose to do as long as they're consistent. So. As far as this year, obviously I wish that I could keep all those points that I've worked so hard to get. But, as long as I keep doing what I was doing, I think we'll be just fine.
Darren, what I got there is consistency. So don't be NASCAR and change it every year.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And his answer was a perfect segue to my question, which is the second question that I have for you, Dallas. So you mentioned that, right? Obviously, you're going in as the leader this year. Last year, you were not. For you, kind of which one do you like better? Do you like being the one that's being chased, going in as you always want to be points leader, of course, especially at the end of the season, but going into the countdown as the points leader, do you like being the one being chased, or do you like doing the chasing?
I would take every advantage I can get. So I definitely want to be the one being chased, as long as you just go up there and consistently go rounds and try to win races. Usually the points will kind of settle out at the end. So is the more advantage you can get at the beginning, the better off that you're going to be. So we've seen previous years it's hard to make up ground. It's not only do you have to go out and go deep into races every week, but you need to have a little luck on your side and hope that the person you're trying to catch goes out early, earlier than you. Sometimes you'll go and you'll have a semi or a final round, but it doesn't do you a whole lot of good when the person you're trying to catch is right there next to you in the semis. So these countdown races, they're tough. I think everybody brings their A game. Everybody tries a little harder, and everybody definitely gets a little bit more aggressive.
All right, folks, that was Dallas Glenn. Dallas, thank you for your time. We'll let you know. No, we got you for a little bit longer. But thank you for answering those questions. Maple Grove, look, going into the house of Koretsky, the house of chaos. He's on part of your team in the the stable that you're a part of. Do y'all get any inside secrets rolling into that place?
No inside secrets at all. I think everybody pretty much, the Maple Grove's been around for a long time. Everybody, I think, has really good notes from that place. But I don't know. I feel like no, there's really no special. There's not a whole lot of special treatment coming in there at all. It is kind of cool, having Kyle on our team. You get to see all the little behind the scenes stuff that he tells us about. At the end of the day, all the little stuff that goes on that you don't hear about. So that's kind of cool. But other than that, I really like Maple Grove. It's got a lot of history. It's kind of, being that I drive the truck, it's a strange one to drive the truck into. It's not like some of these other tracks that you have, like Las Vegas. You basically take an exit off the freeway. It's got its own dedicated exit, basically. No, when you go to Maple Grove, you literally drive down back roads, and you may have to slow down for a horse and buggy to take the next turn before you can take this 80-foot, 80,000-pound rig around the corner and snake your way into the track. So the track is absolutely beautiful, and I know that Kyle and the Koretskys have been working really hard to give us all the upgrades that we all wanted.
Yeah, man. The first time I ever went to Maple Grove, I said to myself, because my dad drove a truck, and I'm like, they drive the rigs here. It is absolutely insane. And by the way, do not be late to the track.
No.
I'll tell you what, Maple Grove, Reading, Pennsylvania, the House of Chaos is one of the tracks I've been dying to check out. It's one of my favorite races on the tour. And what I love, too, is that the Amish people who sit on the top of the hill and watch the drag races from the top end, I always thought that was pretty cool. Dallas, obviously, it's always imperative to kick off the countdown good with some momentum and don't put yourself in a hole early, especially as the points leader. But I want to take a look at the points real quick right here. Obviously, those are the wrong ones. Right here. Obviously going in with a 25-point lead over Matt Harford. But the key thing is, and we can't see all of them, but 16 drivers have qualified for the countdown to the championship. That is a lot of competitors going into this thing. How imperative is it to start off good in Reading? Because knowing if you don't, with 16 competitors, you could see yourself drop pretty far after just one race.
Oh, absolutely. Going out first round, I mean, you can go from first all the way back almost to 10th here in the first race if you're not careful. So you definitely have to have your A game. You got to have all your parts double checked and triple checked and make sure everything goes smoothly. And the competition this season is so tough that there's really no air for any mistakes, and no room for any error, no room for any mistakes. You have to do everything as absolutely perfect as you can, and even then you still have to have some luck. To win one of these races is not just about having the fastest car or the best reaction time. You need to have that consistently run to run, and even then still have some luck. If you look even back at Indy, I ran Derek Kramer first round. You can look at his run. He was, I think, 23 on the tree and went a 63 first round. He would have beat, probably 13 or 14 other competitors. And it just because he had one little issue on his first round of qualifying, which happened to be the best session, it put him in that spot of qualifying. So one little thing goes wrong and it can completely upset your whole weekend. So you have to have a little bit of luck on these super tight races.
And you mentioned Derek Kramer, kind of like a follow-up question to that is that, obviously this is only your third year in pro stock, but you've been around pro stock for way longer. I mean, you've been, working on these cars for quite some time now. You've been around this class for quite some time. You mentioned Derek Kramer. Well, in years past, it's been Erica and Greg. Well, this year it's Dallas Glenn, it's Troy Coughlin Jr., it's Matt Harford, it's Derek Kramer. Is this the most wide open you've ever seen pro stock as long as you've been around it?
Yeah. There was definitely some years back in the carbureted days where we didn't know between you had Alan Johnson and Erica and Tanner and Jason and Greg and Bo and you had just all of these just awesome competitors. You got Jaggy in there, and you didn't know which going into a race anyone in the basically top half or even farther had a legitimate shot at winning. I think it's just like that now. It's absolutely incredible how tight this competition has gotten, and everybody has stepped up their game this year. Everybody's been working really hard, and nobody's trying to give any any rope to anybody. So this year we've gone into races and felt like we were good, and then you end up fifth in qualifying, but you're only 9 thousandths behind the number one. So it's just absolutely incredible how tough it is out there.
Now, at the end of the season, I'm sure that Dallas Glenn would say that Dallas Glenn will be the 2023 Pro Stock champion. But who do you think will be the surprise up-and-comer out of 16 cars in the group in this countdown? Who will shock us out of your fellow competitors, Dallas?
Who's going to be the biggest jumper, kind of?
Sure.
Hard Charger Award?
Yes.
There's so many in there.
He helps nobody.
I mean,
he helps nobody.
Go think of any one of them. I mean, you could think of, Greg's had a little bit of a struggle this year, but he definitely knows when, and and he can come on right at the right time. He's done this a long time. So you can watch out for him to be really good. Kyle Koretsky's just making a late charge now too. His car's running really well. You've got Derek Kramer's had consistent final rounds. Matt Hartford just won Indy. He's been fast every single race. Eric has been making a late charge, and she's running really good. I mean, you've got Aaron Stanfield. He's the winner of the Mission Foods Challenge. He's absolutely been driving fantastic, and his car's real fast. And same with TJ. I mean, TJ has he's kind of beat up on me a little bit this year, and I hope that trend doesn't continue, because I mean, everybody that you come against in this, basically from 16 cars on, is just capable of winning, and there's absolutely zero freebies out there. So I don't know if I can actually pick a single person that I think is going to shock us the most. I think, and it really wouldn't shock me if any of them jumped up and started winning all the races.
And to go back on my question of, has this ever been the most wide open pro stock has been, And before Greg, started dominating in 03 and 04 when he wiped the floor of the field those years. 01 and 02 was pretty wide open. There was like a bunch of double-digit winners those 2 seasons. But like I mentioned earlier, Dallas, I'm sorry, Gage just popped in the green room, so I started looking at Gage. Dallas, obviously career year for you, 4 wins, 7 final rounds. Coming off that great rookie season, not a bad year last year by any means. Still won the Gator Nationals, finished top 5 in points. But how cool is it to have this type of season and kind of back up that rookie season with kind of a career year here in year 3?
I felt like, the first season I was kind of getting my feet wet, kind of learning all the things and kind of perfecting and honing in. And last year we just kind of struggled. The elite team definitely stepped their game up and it became very, very difficult. And, I was in a different car last year. And even though we were fast, it didn't quite fit. Everything wasn't quite going perfect from there were certain conditions that were definitely favorable and certain conditions that I definitely kind of lacked compared to the field. And I feel like the car I'm in this year is kind of meshed a lot nicer. It's kind of it's good in the heat, it's good in the good conditions. Obviously, Gainesville, I was running really good in Gainesville. You look at Brainerd, when it cooled off, I still ran good, but I was also running good in those super hot and humid conditions. So I think this year, what has kind of changed is I've kind of gotten into a car that seems to be a little bit happier in all conditions. It runs good, it's fast, and I feel like I've gotten a little bit more consistent driving wise, as far as shifting and staging and the little mistakes. And not only that, I think the biggest thing is I think some of my luck has kind of changed around. I went through a streak last year. It was right after the Gainesville win. We went to Vegas, and I felt, I was the fastest car coming into the final quad of the 4 wide in Vegas, and I felt like I murdered the tree. And before my clutch foot even came all the way out, a wire broke on the firewall, and the whole car shut off. So I felt like a win, and instead of going from a winner or runner up on that, I went all the way back to a semi. And then I go to the next race, and I have an oil pressure sensor die on me first round, and it turns a big bright red light up in my face. And so I just felt like the luck kind of just plagued me. It would go up and I might shake the tire on the first qualifying run, and then I'd kind of just be chasing my tail a little bit for the rest of the weekend. So, the crew chiefs have an absolutely incredibly difficult job doing this, and it's so hard to try to keep track of track conditions that I think it's almost easier sometimes being the driver. You don't have to worry about all the changing conditions. You just have the same job to go up there, cut a light, stage good, hit your shift points, and keep it in the groove. So it's definitely going to be a fun season to watch. I think it's going to be pretty crazy. I don't think you're going to see. You could have any person in the final round every single weekend, and it wouldn't shock me at all. The competition's just going to be insane, I think.
I agree.
Dallas, man, thank you for your time. And I know you're hoping you're right back here toward the end of November with a championship interview.
Man, I would really like that. It's really hard to win one of these championships, especially with this format. We've been decent all season long, and we've been really good at some times. And now it's going to come the time where it's going to be put up or shut up. Basically, you're going to have to bring your A game all 6 races, or you're not going to walk away with a ring.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time, Dallas.
Thank you, and thanks for having me on here.
If there is a man that can go into a place of focus to go win a championship, I have seen it with my own eyes, his eyes, because you can't see it when he's in the Pro Stocker. But when I was holding that camera there, that big money bracket race, Dallas Glenn is locked in. All right. As his wife likes to say, she could be on fire next to him while he's in the car, and he wouldn't know it. So that man is not going to get rattled. He's not going to be shook. He definitely is a contender. Obviously he is, because he's the number 1 in the point standings right now.
Not for sure. And he said something very interesting, and I agree with it so much. So he said, obviously you want to be consistent, right? Consistency is always the key. But I think once we get to this countdown to the championship, it's all about winning. Winning, I think, wins championships. And the reason why is because if you're third and fourth or points, right, and you're going to semifinals and you're going to finals, well, it doesn't really do you any good if the guys you're chasing are going to final rounds or winning the races. You know, you kind of have to, if you're going to be consistent, you need the other guys to stumble. So I think at this time of year, yeah, you want to be consistent, but it's all about winning at the end of the day. So I definitely agree with Dallas on that. And so, like you said, he's had a great year so far, 4 wins, 7 final rounds, 2 number 1 qualifiers. He's been strong all year long. And let's see what he does in this 6-race sprint to the championship here in the countdown to the championship.
All right, very quickly. Up next, we've got Gage Herrera, who has been a peak performer out of all of these number 1 seed position individuals in the countdown going in. Darren, his stats.
Wow, Gage Herrera already putting together one of the greatest seasons in pro stock motorcycle history. 6 wins in 7 final rounds. But get this, that's in 9 races. He's won 6 of 9. Here's the thing. 8 number 1 qualifiers, a 29-3 round record. Gage Herrera is definitely basically demolishing the field going into this countdown to the championship. But this is where it all counts right here in the final 6. Gage Herrera is next.
If you want to take your vehicle's performance to new heights, you got to give it P. Like our original equipment technology, antifreeze, and coolant. Our formulas match the vehicle manufacturer's technology requirements so that we have the perfect match for every vehicle. That's one reason why Peak is among the fastest growing brands of coolant in America. We work harder to earn the trust of people like you every day.
Gage Herrera, welcome once again to the Competition Plus Power Hour. Congratulations on what is effectively a regular season championship and you sitting number 1. We're going to begin with this. We're going to ask every individual we have come on the show this tonight, do you like being the one chased, or would you rather be doing the chasing in this points battle?
I would say, well, first off, thanks for having me on the show. I'd rather be the one chasing, honestly. I mean, I feel like there's always more of a fire lit under yourself, you know, when you're the one that's got to put in a lot harder work to chase, you know, the number 1 guy. Right now, I got a big bullseye on my back. I mean, I have all season, and you know, I got to thank my whole team for that. You know, I'd say I get the easy job. I get to ride the bike. You know, they do all the hard work in the shop and all that. So you know, I got to give all the credit to the whole Van Science team. You know, they've been putting in tons of work, and it's showing.
Well, I just lost my co-host, Darren. I'll roll into the second question that we are asking each and every one that comes on the show tonight. Oh, nope, you might be back. I'm back. Darren, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead, Darren.
Well, first off, Lee, thank you for stealing my question, man. I appreciate you doing that. I mean, thank you.
Well, see, Gage, we still haven't worked out the chemistry here yet of flip-flopping things. And,
I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm joking. But definitely, Gage, thank you for joining us here tonight. Also, second question we want to ask everybody is, obviously, you know, you said you want to be the one doing the chasing. Dallas Glenn was saying he wanted to be the one that had the advantage, basically, and wanted to be the one being chased. But second question we have for every driver is, you know, for you, do you like the NHRA playoff points format? Do you like the reset? And is there anything you would like to change or see change going forward?
Well, you know, I would say I don't like it because I lost all those points, but at the same time, I do like it because I feel it brings a lot of excitement and gives, like, you know, all the competitors that basically haven't done good in the beginning of the season, gives them a second shot at basically, you know, the shot for the title. So I'm definitely all for the countdown just because of that. You know, there's so many races throughout the season. It's nice to basically have, like, you know, like a playoff type of thing. The last 6 races is where it really counts. And if you do good in the beginning of the season or race all the races leading up to it, you know, you get a shot at it. So I think it's I like it. You know, I'm in a position where I don't like it because of, like I said, all the points I lost, but at the same time I like it because it brings excitement. It brings, you know, a lot of competition, you know, and there's tons of good competitors, and, you know, you could be on fire in the beginning of the season and, you know, not be good at the end, or vice versa. So I think it's gonna be very exciting for sure. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I mean, this is my first countdown ever, and I'm excited.
You mentioned your fellow competitors. Where do you feel right now that you are and your team in relation to them? Do you think they've been able to get a step at all on you and your team? You do have Matt Smith go out there and defend his U.S. Nationals title going into the countdown. You've lost all those points that you did accumulate. Or do you feel that, yeah, they're certainly still chasing you even on the performance side of matters?
I feel, especially after like basically from Denver on, I feel like everyone's really stepped up. Hector stepped up, Matt stepped up, Angie stepped up, and even Chase Van Sant. I mean, all those guys, you can't count anyone out. I mean, Steve, Mark Ingerson, I mean, they all got really fast motorcycles. I think since we came out swinging so hard in the beginning of the season and the whole season, I think everyone's really trying new things to try to find that next step to basically keep up or compete at our level. Not really our level, but our 60 foot. Our 60 foot's where it really is helping us. But yeah, I feel like it's just between all of them. I mean, any moment they could all find what we found or what vice versa. I mean, even my teammate Ed, he's been struggling a little bit throughout the season, and at any moment he's gonna, like he said, he's always gunning for me, even though we're teammates.
And like you mentioned, you feel like the class has definitely stepped up. Is there one rider, driver in particular that you kind of think is, kind of watching out for, whether that's Matt Smith or Hector Ronner Jr. or Angie Smith or like you said, your teammate Eddie Krawick, kind of one driver kind of looking like, hey, they could probably step up and we got to kind of watch out for them in these final 6 races?
Honestly, I'm going to say there's two. There's Matt Smith and Hector Ronner Jr. I feel like the Buells definitely are a big, contender. They're kind of almost they are the lightest bike in the class right now. We're the heaviest bike, just because all we know we're making good horsepower and we're putting it on the track, showing the numbers. So we got penalized from that. Obviously, that's part of parity. But between Matt Smith and Hector, Matt's his first year out in the Suzuki, and he's been figuring that thing out. I mean, at Sonoma, we qualified within the thousands, so that right there shows him how close he is. At any moment, he's going to be there. So I can never take those two lightly. And, same with my teammate, so I would say that, there's three for sure. At any moment, I mean, you can't take any of those guys lightly. I mean, they're all good on the tree. They all got fast motorcycles. So this countdown is going to be very interesting. I feel like everyone's really going to step it up. And this weekend in Pennsylvania is going to really show what everyone's been working on, with the good weather and everything else. So it's going to be good.
Do you think Matt got that Magnus tire yet?
Yeah, I know. I was about to bring up, like you mentioned the 60 footing times and incrementals there, and Matt has mentioned it. And I was just going to ask, what pixie dust have y'all sprinkled on your tire? Apparently, that.
Hey, I don't know what Andrew's done to that tire, but he just says it'll hold. He just says trust it and it'll take it.
We're technically over the recommend.
Right.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Maple Grove is obviously a historic venue. I would say it's historic in the sense for more of the door cars and obviously the nitro cars. With the pro stock motorcycle racing, do you feel like Maple Grove is one of those places for you all that you can go in and make some record runs if the conditions are just right? Does it play in just as much for the bikes as it does the car, or is there perhaps some weird issue with the left lane, the right lane, a bump out there that affects you all differently than it does the nitro cars or the pro stock cars?
I mean, based off, last year was my first time ever racing there, and I was on a slower bike. But just based off what I've gathered from Andrew and Eddie and all that, and looking at all the weather and conditions, it's definitely, I wouldn't say there'd be record-setting runs, but I definitely can see 60s. So I could see high 60s. I know the record's 66. I could see like a 68 maybe. But that's overall, it's a very nice facility. It's a good surface, so you're definitely going to see some good fast runs. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Friday night everyone's gonna be shocked. I think the first qualifier for sure.
And I just want to take a look now at the Pro Style Motorcycle point standings going into Maple Grove, Reading, Pennsylvania. And I do it again, wrong one. Here we go, right here. Obviously, you're in first right there, 29-point advantage over Matt Smith. And like you said, the two guys you're looking out for is Matt Smith and Hector Ronner Jr. He's third, 37 points out. Your teammate Eddie Krug in fourth, 51 points out, going all the way to Ryan Ayler in 11th. And Chris Bostic is actually, the final driver in the countdown in 12th. But like we mentioned, 6 wins so far this season, 7 final rounds and 9 races, 8 number 1 qualifiers, a career year, an all-time great year in Pro Style Motorcycle, so far. Huge points lead. Have you and your team had a conversation so far, before this first race kicks off? And I know you've had a lot of experience outside of Pro Style Motorcycle. You've done a lot of racing, very poised. You've seen everything so far. But have you guys had a conversation and saying like, hey, even though this is a points reset, let's continue to do what we're doing and try to not get too much in our heads, even though we've lost this big points lead, continue to do what we're doing, win races, and kind of bring this thing on home.
Yeah, the big saying Andrew likes saying is rinse and repeat. That's the thing. I mean, we're going into it, obviously every little point's really going to count now. But at the end of the day, Andrew and Ed and all of them, they just keep saying we just got to keep doing what we're doing, make clean laps A to B. Basically we did all our testing, through the season. I mean, even though I've had a remarkable season, had, like you said, 6 wins out of 9 and, we have 8 number 1 qualifiers. So it's hard to believe that we've been testing new things, type of thing, but we have been getting ready for the countdown. So now we just got to go into there and, treat every race as its own race and every round and so on. So, it's one of those things we're going to go into it with the same mindset we've been all season, I feel, and just do business. I mean, I got an awesome motorcycle and everyone behind me. So I feel like we're all going to be on top of our game for sure.
Gage, we look forward to seeing you do that business along with everyone else in Pro Stock Motorcycle doing their business. We're expecting a great championship battle all the way down to the final race. I know you don't want it to go down to the final race, but we do, and we hope that we get that. Gage, thank you for your time, and most success to you, man.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Gage.
Man, again, all across the board, we have shaping up in front of us some spectacular championship battles. Gage is one of those individuals, though, probably the most hard hit with the reset. And it is a year that he has been having that is a career year. And he certainly has the capability in the team to go out there and win the championship. And I'm honestly, at this point, I hope we see him do that, because it would just about be a shame if that doesn't happen at the end of the year.
No, for sure. And it's the same thing for Justin Ashley as well. They're putting together such amazing seasons that you want to see them cap this thing off with the championship. And sorry, Andrew, we didn't get to your question. He asked, he wanted to ask Gage what happened in the semifinals in Indy. And I was kind of curious about that as well, because chasing history, Gage Herrera, like we said, 6 wins so far, 9 races. Well, the record right now is 10. His boss, Matt Hines, 1998, won 10. I was hoping Gage could win that one, get number 7, and have an easier chance of either getting to 10 or 11 in the countdown, and we can see some history here in 2023. But still has a chance to do it with 6 more races. But like I said, an all-time great season so far, and let's see how he can continue to add to it in this final 6-race sprint to the championship.
The man that we have next rolled into the sport as the influencer, and he certainly has been doing some influencing on the Top Fuel field with his ability to chop the tree down. And now with Mike Green and Tommy DeLago and others behind him, has certainly produced consistency and powerful performances that has got him win after win. And he is the number 1 seed in Top Fuel Eliminator, the kings of the sport. That is Justin Ashley. Darren with his stats.
We've seen some great seasons in Top Fuel Eliminator history, but I'll tell you what, before Gary Silsey broke the record in 2000, 6 wins was the standard for wins in a single season in Top Fuel Eliminator. Well, guess what? Justin Ashley has 6 wins so far here in 2023 and 7 final round appearances, 2 number 1 qualifiers, a 33-9 round record. Also, Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge champion. I'm happy I don't have to say that no more for the rest of the season, but he's dominated throughout this year. He is your points leader going into the countdown to the championship in Top Fuel Eliminator. Justin Ashley, the driver of the Phillips Connect Top Fuel Dragster, is next.
Classic car owners, make your headlights over twice as bright with Holley Retro Bright LED headlights. A plug-in replacement for those dim halogen seal beams, Retro Bright maintains that classic look and lasts 6 times longer. Stay safe and click the link below to learn more.
Mr. Ashley, welcome once again to the Competition Plus Power Hour. Look, we've got 2 questions that we are asking everyone that comes on to the show. We've already asked 2 competitors these 2 questions. You get the questions as well. First and foremost, it is, do you like this format of the points, or what would you want it to be?
You're muted, Justin.
Yeah, you're muted, Justin.
There we go. That's just a shame. That's just not how you want to start the show. So I apologize, guys. But now we're up and going. So anyway, I actually, in full transparency, I do really like the format. I know there's varying opinions on it. There's varying thoughts on it. For me, I think that every sport has a countdown, or every sport has a playoff format. So whether it's football, baseball, basketball, you go in with a certain advantage based upon which seed you are, like we have in our sport. And then from there, whatever happens in the regular season essentially is in the past. And then it's all about the here and now and the future. And I think that's exactly what we have in NHRA drag racing. Sometimes it works for you. Sometimes it works against you. I know that there's mixed opinions on the topic, but for me personally, I think it's what's in the best interest of the sport right now.
And Justin, second question we're asking everybody is, obviously, going into the countdown as the points leader last year, you went in, I believe, second or third or something like that. Don't know, but obviously, so you've been through both perspectives, the points leader and non-points leader. Do you like the one doing the chasing, or do you like the one being chased going into the countdown?
Well, there's certainly something to be said about both, right? But I think it's certainly better to be in the number 1 position and be the one being chased, the one with the target on your back. It's certainly different. It's a different feel. We went into last year's countdown in the 3rd position. I think we went in 2021 and from the 7th position. So we've kind of been all over the place, and being in this position, for our entire Phillips Connect Toyota team, I know I speak for everyone. We say we prefer to be in the lead going into it, but we have a healthy understanding of how difficult it is. This is going to be a 6-race absolute battle. Every round is going to be tough to turn on a win light. So it's our goal, our objective, to just take it one round at a time, be the very best version of ourselves that we can be. And in my opinion, the key is going to be not changing our approach. Doesn't matter whether we're in 1st, doesn't matter whether we're in 10th or 12th in this instance. Our approach has to stay the same, and that's continue to improve, focus on ourselves, and let the points take care of themselves.
Lee, so that's 2 out of 3. 2 drivers have said so far they like being in the lead, and 1 driver said they like doing the chasing. So 2 out of 3 so far.
Yes. It's going to be interesting what the wily old veteran Ron Capps has got to answer to that question for sure. He was been used to chasing for a very long time. He might certainly like being at the top and being chased. Justin, look, since you've come into the sport in Top Fuel in particular, there has been around you always this aura of this guy can go out there and win this race, no matter what race you showed up to, even when you were part-time and Struckmasters.com was big and bold on the side of that car. But this year, it is certainly been a case where Justin is the number 1 pick. It's not that he can, it's that we expect him to win with as many wins as you all have clipped off and the performance where it is. From last year through the offseason to this year, what can you peg for the uptick in performance?
So that's a great question. I don't necessarily think it's one thing in particular. I think it's a combination of things that have come together at the right time. You see that the best teams in the world are the ones that stay together and have the same group of guys and girls, both on and off the racetrack, for a number of years. So the first thing is experience. Mike Green and Tommy DeLago have done a great job, along with the rest of the personnel that we have on the team, of working together collectively, taking the time in the offseason to find ways to improve and ultimately put ourselves in the best position to find success. In addition to that, you got to look at everything that the Maynard family has done for our organization. The idea behind our partnership was to create sustainable success for a long time, both on and off the racetrack. And I think that you can see early on, it's already paying dividends. So it's the work that's being put on, the work that's being put in at the shop, the work that was being put in at the shop in the off season, obviously the partnership with the Maynards, our relationship with Phillips Connect, Toyota, Kato, all of our sponsors. So I think it's all coming together at the right time. And I think that's really what's made the biggest difference so far this year, because right now we're firing on all cylinders. But again, guys, at the same time, it's so tough. You've got to enjoy these moments because it's so tough to win races out there. It really is difficult, especially in 2023. But our focus has to be on Reading. And then after Reading, it's going to have to be on Charlotte, so on and so forth, because this 6-race stretch is going to just be brutal, tough, fun, exciting, and pretty much everything in between.
And I know your team is super locked in. You guys have one goal, and it is to get that championship, get that, that ring at the end of the season. But for you guys, and I don't think you guys need anybody to kind of like, do some hoorah dance or, but who's kind of like that vocal leader within the team, that kind of gets you guys, keep you guys to stay locked in and, stay focused on the goal. Is it yourself that's the vocal leader? Is it Tommy DeLago? Is it Jim Epler? Who's that guy on that team that kind of riles up the team and keeps you guys all together in these moments?
Yeah, I think the beautiful part about it is we all work so well collectively that everyone has their own individual role and everyone is in a leadership position and we all hold each other accountable. So, I probably lead by example, not really much of a vocal leader in that sense necessarily, but there's different approaches and everybody responds differently. I will say one guy, obviously you start at the top, right, with Mike Green and Tommy DeLago, and the influence that those two guys, top to bottom, have had on the team is absolutely tremendous. And then when you add in Dustin Davis and talk about a guy leading vocally, talk about a guy leading by example, Dustin has done an amazing, amazing job in an ownership capacity and physically working on the race car, working day to day on the daily operations of the team. So Tommy and Mike, Dustin together, that kind of core three, have done just an outstanding job of leading this team, both vocally and by example. So I think everything is feeling good right now. We all feel like we're in a great position because of the job that everyone's doing, but it really starts top to bottom with those three.
Justin, I saw somewhere today a stat that it was put into the framework that everyone that is in this countdown scenario or the top 7, something like that, had made a final round at some point this season in Top Fuel. And we asked earlier with Dallas Glenn, hey, who do you think could be that surprise hard charger, is how he put it. Who do you think in the Top Fuel field, as competitive as it is, as wide open as it is, may be that surprise person to charge and challenge you at the top?
There's so many of them. I feel like I have to look at the list of cars right now because there's so many of them. But just if you're looking for one, think about a guy like Tony Schumacher for a number of different reasons. The personnel that they have in place there with Mike Neff and Tony Schumacher, who have worked together for a long period of time, as well as John Schaefer and the entire group. And then Tony's experience. Some people know how to win. Tony's a guy who knows how to win. He's won, I believe, 8 Top Fuel World Championships, the winningest Top Fuel driver in NHRA history. So he's a guy, I would say, Tony, that definitely stands out to me as a guy that can shoot his way up to the top and can do so really quickly. The other guys you want to focus on are the Coletta cars. At any point in time, and Doug's really been turning it on lately, they can hit their stride. Those are two of the best drivers in the sport throughout any category, period, in Doug Coletta and Sean Langdon. So I think you look at those collectively as a group, everybody in front of them, behind them, people are going to be making moves left and right throughout this final stretch. So it'll be fun to be a part of.
And like you've been saying, it's going to be an all-out battle for the championship in these final 6 races. You go back to last year, it was kin to 1999. We had the winner's curse. You win a race, you're out first round the next race. We could totally see that again here in 2023. But I have the list for you, Justin. Let's take a look now at the Top Fuel point standings going into Reading Maple Grove, Pennsylvania. Obviously, you have the lead, 30-point lead over Steve Torrance. In third, Antron Brown, 44 points back. Leah Pruitt in fourth, 58 points back. And rounding out the top five, your reigning top field champion, Brittany Forrest, 68 points out. And obviously, Sean Langdon in 11th and Tony Schumacher in 12th, rounding out the countdown. But Justin, my question is, 6 Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge wins here this year, and you only picked up 10 points on Steve-O. Did you feel like that gap would be a little bigger with all the Mission Foods challenges you won this year?
Yeah, what's up with that, Steve? Come on, you and I are gonna have to sit down and have a conversation. I thought the gap would be a little bit bigger, but no, I mean, look, it's a reflection on how good the competition is what it is. The only 21 points and the net difference was only 10, and it's incredible. And meanwhile, I say only 10, but 10 points matters so much. It adds up to 30, which is one full round, let's say, at Pomona, when it's points and a half or a round and a half throughout the other 5 races. So it is a lot. Of course, when you look at it, you expect and you hope that it's going to be more. There is a bigger gap. It's not only Steve, it's the cars behind him too, like our teammate Antron Brown and his Mac O'Toole's team. I mean, they're just superb. They probably have the most momentum right now out of everybody, and Brian and Mark and that whole group. So, yeah, I mean, it did create a difference. Of course, we want it to be as big of a gap as it can be. But, for Mission Foods to really put on that Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge throughout the year created such meaningful, enjoyable racing for the drivers, for the teams, for the partners, for the fans, for everybody. So it was great. And the fact that these championship points were on the line too, made it that much more significant and made it that much better.
Justin, it is certainly going to be a pleasure to watch you and your team go through this countdown. We know that your team is able to arise and go up against adversity and overcome, and we're looking forward to seeing you all do that and do it amongst your competitors in a great countdown to the championship. We thank you for your time, Mr. Ashley.
Thank you, guys. Hopefully we'll see you guys soon. Have a great night.
Thank you, Justin.
Darren, we've been able to talk to 3. We are waiting on Ron Capps to roll in, and we'll get him on when he does so to chat with him as the number 1 seed going into the countdown in the Fuel Funny Car class. But as we talk to those that are number 1 seed in the other respective classes of Pro Stock Motorcycle, and Top Fuel, we certainly have shaping up a great chase countdown to the championship. And I also want to echo what Justin just said. It seems like the fan base of NHRA, maybe even to some extent the media, is counting out the greatness that is Tony Schumacher. But the competitors keep bringing up Tony Schumacher as that individual to watch out for.
No, for sure, for sure. And there's just guys out there that just know how to win. It doesn't matter what kind of season they're having. If they've been struggling, they know how to win. And they know how to win in big-time situations and in big-time moments. And obviously, there's no bigger moment than to count down to the championship. And we know Tony Schumacher has risen to the occasion in some of the biggest moments in NHRA history, a la the run in 2006. Well, let's not forget. People always forget this, right? So there was the run in 2006, right? Which is obviously the greatest pass in NHRA history. But let's not forget, he came back the following season and won the championship in the final round of the final race of the season the following year in 07. He did it back-to-back years, just didn't set a national record. So for sure, Tony Schumacher, this ain't a Tony Schumacher-like season, but if you're a competitor in Top Fuel, you don't want to race Tony Schumacher in the countdown, especially with your championship hopes on the line.
That's right. That's right. Well, we've got Ron. He's rolled into the green room, the two-time U.S. Nationals event champion in Fuel Funny Car, and he is the number 1 seed rolling into the countdown for the NHRA Camping World Series, as we will see him be introduced at Maple Grove Race Go next. Darren, Ron Capps stats.
Oh, man, Ron Capps, one of the greatest funny car drivers of all time, having a great year here in 2023. 3 wins and 6 final round appearances, 2 number 1 qualifiers, a 31-12 round record. But here's the thing, though. He's going into the countdown with some mo, and that's big. Has won the last 2 races on tour, won Brainerd, won the U.S. Nationals back-to-back years in a row, and did it in that awesome Snake tribute car, Hot Wheels car out the U.S. Nationals. Ron Capps, your number 1 seed and Nitro Funny Car in the countdown to the championship, is next.
Competition Products, your source for hardcore engine parts for street, strip, and oval track. Our free catalog is packed with hundreds of product lines from the best-known manufacturers in the performance industry. Lowest prices guaranteed. Free shipping and handling on all orders over $149 in the continental U.S.
Need expert advice? Our knowledgeable staff is just a phone call away.
Competition products. Race parts sold by racers since 1970.
Ron Katz, look, we've been asking these drivers 2 questions. We're going to ask you those 2 questions. But Darren and Ron, myself, I think we just got to take a moment. Let's all geek out. Dude, how cool was it, that throwback and you winning at Indy? Dude, it was awesome.
Now, the coolest part is just how much has happened since then. It just keeps going and going. I got a text from, I pretty much had a text from Don Perdome almost every day since the race. And, he's buddies with Chip Ganassi. So he flew to Laguna Seca and Chip won the championship and they won the race with Scott Dixon. But I was getting text messages from him left and right. And then it just daily things are coming through. I can't wait to talk to Natalie and Cass and our social media people and see exactly where Hot Wheels and Mattel and the whole experience ends up as far as social media and the outreach that it had overall, because it's got to be crazy. I don't know how many millions, but it's going to be fun to find out what it did.
It certainly had an impact, and as drag racing fans, we all loved it, and it's gone beyond that. So good job, man. Good job. Now, when it comes to this championship chase, as a competitor, you've been doing this for a while. You're one of the greatest. Do you prefer the chasing or do you prefer being chased?
Well, you always want to have the lead. I mean, I've been in both positions going into Pomona. I mean, before we won the championship in 2016, I mean, he can tell. He knows more stats than I do, and more of my stats than I do. I don't. Gosh, it's crazy. We had the media conference today, and just talking about going to Maple Grove on Friday. It's so cool because we've had the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty things almost every race. The itineraries I get before a weekend have just been stacked with stuff, but it's crazy how it's the countdown, and now it's just focus on each qualifying run. You got to do your sponsor stuff, but it's all about the playoffs, and we're going in with 24-point lead just over Hagen, but that certainly can change. I mean, we've seen in the past where 8th has gone all the way to 1st in one event. So you just got to be careful. There's ways of going in where you say, all right, stay on the gas pedal and keep doing what you're doing. And that sounds easy, right? And then there's years where you're like, okay, let's just kind of not make a mistake. And then you're too easy and you get stomped on by people. And so you got to approach it. That's what I love about racing with Guido. Every run, there's runs we go up there on Sunday. He doesn't even know who we have the next round. And I'll ask him, I'll tell him who we have. And he goes, I'm worried about the racetrack right now. When we get up there, I'll look and see who we run. But right now I'm just worried about conditions, weather, and that in an hour from now where we got to go up there and step on the gas. So I'm excited about going to battle with all my guys. That's the funnest part.
And so, Ron, to go along with, would you rather be the one, doing the chasing or being chased? Another question we're asking all the other drivers is, do you like the current playoff format in the NHRA? Do you like how it is now? And if so, is there any changes you would like to make going forward, or you would like to see, going forward in the countdown?
Well, the old question, if you could be president NHRA for a day, what would you change? I would bring back national records and those bonus points. That was a lot of fun. I forget what year it was the last time we had them, but we were throwing down back and forth between Height and Beckman and ourselves and somebody else. And I think Pomona, the record fell, and we grabbed it at one point on a Sunday between ourselves, Height, and Beckman. It might have gotten between all three of us just on Sunday before it left with whoever. So I would love to see those bonus points come back because it was so much fun for fans. It was nail-biting time, but it really got the crew chiefs up to try and grab those points before the end of the day on a certain track. So I would definitely bring that back. The format, everybody gets in. I don't like, a lot of people mention that. And Darren, I'm glad you asked me that, but that would be something there's no drama, you know. I don't want to be the one trying to get in, but that drama of somebody fighting to get in and being exclusive to try to be in and fight your way in if you're not, I think the fans are being deprived a little bit there. It's funny how we started the countdown. You remember the first year or first couple of years, it was countdown to the championship. And it was a scenario where it was like eliminations are now. It started with whatever it was. It went a couple races and it, you know, 2 or 3 dropped off, and then it was down to 4, and then it was down to 2. And then NASCAR ended up going to that just a few years ago where it was knockout, you know, sort of the same thing. So I'm not sure we should go back to that, but I sure enjoyed it. It was more of what drag racing is all about. The only bummer is you get down to 2 cars and that's it, right? Or 4 cars for a couple races to go. And I'm not sure if the fans don't like that or if they're excited about somebody knocking one of those cars out. But I think that was a great format as well, especially the way that our drag racing is on Sundays, where you lose, you're out, and it's ladder type eliminations. That's probably it. That's probably enough trouble I've gotten into with NHRA in one sentence. Thanks for asking, Darren.
Me and Lee have talked about plenty of times of bringing back that playoff format from 07 where it was the top 8 make it and it goes down to the final 4 for the last 2 races. I thought that was real interesting and really kind of coincidence that NASCAR ended up going to that, like, what, 5 years later? I thought that was pretty crazy.
Yeah. You know, yeah. Everybody noticed. Trust me, you're not the only one. I'm not the only one. We definitely took note of that. And not that they were trying to copy anything we did. I just think that was a format. I think NHRA, it fit us well because of our single elimination type of Sunday race day. But yeah, there's all kinds of things. But I really think the bonuses and throwing these little things in, you know, the qualifying points now, look, both you guys know I won the world championship by less than half of a handful, right? Down to the end of the season, last run of the day, and we won it by just a few points, if not a couple points. So with that being said, you could look back at this weekend on Friday or Saturday and qualifying points that somebody is going to grab could mean and in Pomona that certain run won them the world championship. And you can't pinpoint it later on. But that's how important it is to look back and see what Robert didn't win, right? To look at all the races they won and they didn't win a world championship and it came down. So I've been in that position where you don't win the championship and all off season, you wake up in the morning, you're laying in bed going, my gosh, if we would have just qualified better here, if we would have gone one more round here. So there's a lot of little points that can be grabbed, I think, that are going to probably decide the championship again.
Ron, you won last year the Fuel Funny Car Championship as a driver, but you also won it as a car owner. You're well into your second year as driver and car owner. This countdown going in, how has Ron Capps matured as a car owner, and you see yourself that much better to go for this championship?
I don't know. Matured is the word. I've definitely felt like I've aged, if probably age is a better word. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, man. I find myself every minute of the day focusing on the business and the team and what's the next step and what can we do better here and what can we do better there. I used to do that as a driver, and I used to, you know, all those years driving for Snake and then Don Schumacher, I would constantly be on my way to an appearance and on a plane thinking, okay, man, if I ever got a chance to be an owner, this is what I would do. And that, you know, this is how I think I can do better than what the guy that I own, you know, drive for now. So I always ran those scenarios, much like a kid growing up. It's a baseball, you know, wannabe baseball player. He's thinking bottom of the ninth, I want to be up to bat and have all that pressure on me. And so I've always thought, man, if I ever had that position where I could do that, and I have now a couple of years, but I've got so many good people around me, it's still fun all day today. I mean, all day today was on the phone with our GM, on the phone with sponsors, just coming up with ideas. And we came up with a great idea that we'll announce here pretty soon, but for the Legends Nitro funny cars that are going to be at the Vegas race, right? We had them there last year, and we came up with a great idea to help make them a little bit more money. But also they're going to be running right before Nitro cars. And I think the fans are going to love seeing those nostalgia, old school funny cars. but that was part of my day to day, just coming up with ways to make more money for either our team or my guys or help our sponsors. And I love it, but it's just consumed me. So I'm not sure mature is a good word, other than I just don't have any. I run out of time every day.
And Ron, whatever sport it is, basketball, football, drag racing, NASCAR, it's all about championships. It's all about the rings. You want to get all the rings you can. And obviously, you've won back-to-back, 2021 and 2022. Trying to go for 3 in a row here in 2023. Has that crossed your mind at all of doing 3-peat and being the first one to do that since John Force?
Just when you say it, or today, Phil Burgess or Loans or whoever on the media thing. What we did last year was crazy. What I win the championship my last year driving for Schumacher and going into ownership was also crazy to me. Winning Indy twice, winning Indy once. I went 28 years without winning Indy, and then I win it the first time as an owner, and we sweep last year. And then we pull off this year what will be one of the most memorable things in my lifetime, to be able to do what we did with a special car and Snake and the fans and all that. So it's been 2 years of just things that I could not have comprehended or even scripted, honestly. I dreamt of being an owner, and what I've already done has been beyond what I could even dream. You know what I mean? And so the 3-peat thing, that's great. What stands out to me is what Robert Height said in an interview last year, sometime and somewhere, about they asked him about winning a championship or something, and he mentioned there's a lot of guys now with 3 championships, and I don't know how many. I know there's Hagen and myself and Robert. I'm sure there's more guys that are at 3. But I think over the history, if you were a 4-time, I mean, we're talking John Force is John Force, right? You got to take him out of the equation. But with the funny car drivers around nowadays and the teams nowadays, to be a 4-time champion, and Robert said it, and it really caught my ear because I think he's right. I think that's the next thing that's cool. I mean, for me as an owner, definitely as a driver, and obviously Robert, because he said it, but I guarantee it's in Hagen's head. It's anybody else. It's in funny car. That's it's a tough thing to say. You're a 4-time champion in funny car nowadays. So the 3-peat would be great, but gosh, I didn't think we could pull it off last year, honestly. I mean, even waking up Sunday morning, we were relying on Height and those guys to make a little bit of a mistake, but after the qualifying number 1 the night before and have a bigger chance at it. But honestly, I was like, man, I'm not sure we were going to be able to pull that off, and we did. So you never know. And now 1.5 points on Pomona, nothing's really, unless you have such a great first few races of the countdown. And I dreamt about this many times, of being able to clinch in Vegas. How cool would it be to clinch in Vegas and party in Vegas and celebrate and enjoy that, and then just go to Pomona just to race Pomona? That would be unbelievable. But to say that as a funny car driver nowadays, it's just not going to happen. It's too close and too tight.
Yeah, Lee. 4 world championships of funny car. Bernstein and Perdome. You got to do it.
Is that what it is? Bernstein's got 4? Wow.
Bernstein and Perdome, 4 funny car championships. Yeah.
Wow. Crazy.
They did it 4 in a row, though. They did it back to back to back to back.
Yeah, that's stout. 4 in a row. And they were probably racing against each other at one point too, and somebody won 4 in a row. So that's pretty. Listen, when I won Brainerd and I knew I tied who was one of my, still to this day, I think is one of the best drivers I've ever seen, Pat Austin. That was a pinch me moment. So every time, these things get mentioned, for me, it blows my mind completely.
Pat's going into the Hall of Fame now too, right? Him and his dad are going to the Hall of Fame.
Is that right? They should. Yeah. That's cool.
Yep. Well, Ron, last question, and not countdown related. I want to stay on you as owner and thinking ahead and what else you can do. Your career.
I think we lost him.
Okay, I'm glad it wasn't me. I was hoping it was him.
We lost him. Yeah,
I was like, oh man, my internet
about Indiana. I don't know where he's at. I think he's coming back.
Here he comes.
Oh,
Lee,
okay.
you there?
Sorry.
All
Yeah.
right. Might be those
Internet
glasses,
blur.
man. You might
It
need to take
happens.
those glasses off. You're soaking up all your Wi-Fi.
Yes, right. Yes, yes. Well, I don't know where I was. Grant, let's shorten it this. You and
Start over.
Anton,
Let's hear it
when
again.
you win,
It was
he
good.
wins.
I know it was good. Let's hear it.
Yep. When you win, he wins, and now he has started with this, driver development program. We ever going to see a Ron Capps driver development program in the NHRA?
I would love to. It's always been. I grew up working on as a crew guy, working on the alcohol dragsters, and that's when you don't see me in my pit area. I'm usually looking down. I'm at the Gordon, looking for the Gordons. Jay Payne's one of my favorite people out. Just I grew up in that area, and I worked on the cars when Blaine was driving. Still, I worked on Jim Rizzoli's car for a lot of years. So I always keep an eye. Obviously, Doug Gordon's daughter did a great job there in Brainerd. Getting her license. Ida, she came and hung out in Indy, and then I think yesterday she doubled up and won, right? I think the European Championship. So yeah, there's lots of people I've been keeping my eye on as far as having a second driver down the road, but that's a Guido decision. When he thinks we're ready, we'll add a dragster probably, and. But yeah, I'm always watching. There's so many great young talent that I would love to bring up and then find a sponsor for them and not rely on somebody that's got $1 million to come up and look for a seat. I watched that happen around me growing up. I watched it happen when I was a driver, and I'm not going to let that happen. I'd rather go out and find the sponsorship and bring somebody up that I know will be a superstar someday on and off the racetrack. And so, yeah, my mind's always going.
Definitely. If you have anybody in mind right now that you're looking at that you see like, hey, this is, they'll be the next generation of nitro driver, anybody like that?
Yeah, but as soon as I say it, then somebody's going to go. I already mentioned a couple people, and then I heard a few races ago somebody's already talking about trying to put them into a car. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to mention any names.
I got you. I got you.
I end up taking them before I can put them in a car.
Well, Ron, it is exciting to see what you're doing in the time and season of life you're in. And as a drag racer, we look forward to a great championship battle. And we know that you're hoping you are at the top. But you're not just hoping, you're working towards it. So good luck, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys, man. It's going to be a fun countdown, right? I mean, look at the weather conditions coming up and the tracks that we see coming up, 3 in a row. So when you leave St. Louis, you're either going to be feeling pretty good or all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh boy, we got points to make up. So the fans are in for a treat. I think we're really going to see some great close racing, and hopefully we're one of the ones holding the trophy.
For sure.
Thank you, Ron. Have a good night.
Man. See you guys.
Thanks, Ron.
Had all the top seeds in NHRA Camping World Drag Racing Series for the NHRA, and it's been good to chat with them, Darren. Interesting perspectives, and let's see, what did we get? We got most of them most of them want to be out front.
Yeah. 3 of them want the advantage.
I did not expect that. I really thought it would be kind of the other way.
Yeah, no, me too. And I feel like if I was in that position, I want to be the one doing the chasing. I feel like it's a lot less pressure, not as nerve wracking. But yeah, so 3-1. Justin, Caps, and Glenn all said they would rather be the one being chased, while Gage Herrera said he's the one that wants to do the chasing. So a pretty interesting perspective right there. But yeah, I thought at least be either split or more people say they would like to be the one doing the chasing.
Yes, yes. And hey, I have to side with Ron Capps. We've talked about it many times. We want to see this thing to be a different format. Granted, I will also echo consistency that Dallas Glenn mentioned. I believe it was him that be consistent. I don't want to see it change every year.
Yeah. No, for sure, for sure. And I like what we have now. I mean, it's the countdown format we have now is pretty much the same, since we changed from the knockout format, which was '07. There's been little tweaks here and there. Like a small thing is, back in the day, the points leader would get a 20-point bonus going into the countdown. So there'd be 30 points ahead instead of the regular 20 that's now, which is added on with the Mission Food Challenge points now. So there's been little minor tweaks here and there, obviously the participation award, but for the most part, it's been pretty much the same since the knockout format in '07. So, got to give NHRA their props on that. They haven't made much changes.
Not that many major changes. And, we could have honed in on this participation era that we're in. And I imagine we would have gotten, we did even have some voluntarily mention that, hey, they don't like that. And I think that's something across the board that NHRA media, fans, and racers, even those who have been able to get in via that rule actually don't appreciate it. They're going to take advantage of it, but they actually don't appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think the guys and gals that are below that 10 mark, whether they're 11th or 12th, for example, a Sean Langdon or a Tony Schumacher, while they'll take it, like you said, they'll obviously, we'll take being in the countdown, but I believe they'll be the first to tell you, and I believe so because they are champions. They know what it takes to be a champion. They'll be the first to tell you that, hey, although we're in the countdown, we pretty much don't really deserve to be here. So we're here, but we'll take it, and we'll give life hell to the ones who are going for a championship.
That is right. Well, Darren, look, we're not done. We've got at least about 15 more minutes, 10 more minutes, and there's still plenty of drag racing to chat on. Where do you want to go, man?
Before we do that, though, so I'm going to give a shout out to Justin Ashley out the U.S. Nationals. Gave me a really good comment on my hair, right? And I was thinking of something, right? You know how you're the guy with the shades? Well, I should now be called the guy with the braids. What you think? Guy with the shades, guy with the braids? No?
Yes. Got some rhyming there. I like it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Shout out to Justin Ashley. Big fan of the hair.
But hey, but that means you got to keep them.
That is true.
And I can tell you, man, you create a logo with shades and a beard, you're stuck.
Yeah, if my logo would have to have braids, and I don't know if I want to have braids all the time, but for right now, I'm the guy with the braids. So for right now.
All right. The guy with the braids.
Let's move on.
Shades and the braids.
Let's move on. Yeah, shades and the braids. Let's move on.
We need to. Wow. Schedule. Let's talk about some schedule stuff. We have not been able to talk about that last couple of episodes since it dropped right before the U.S. Nationals. Looking at, I believe it is 21 events with some TBAs to be announced in there. Your thoughts on the 2024 schedule as we see it right now, Darren?
It pretty much shaped up how I thought it would be. Obviously, I'm a little heartbroken that Pomona is looking like it's not going to start the season anymore. Being a Southern California guy here in Los Angeles, California, going to the races since I was a little kid, Pomona always opened up the season, but I know why they've changed it. I think it's a good change. So I think the Gator Nationals deserve to start the season with, how big the crowd is, how big that race is. But like I said, pretty standard. I got to give a big shout out to NHRA for bringing Phoenix back. I thought that was pretty huge. Obviously, we all thought it was the last race here in 2022, 2023, but they brought it back in 2024. So shout out to NHRA and also bringing back Joliet, another top-notch facility right there. The TBAs, obviously, one of those is going to be Flying H, but I'm curious to see what the other TBA is. Is it Columbus? Is it a return of Richmond, Virginia? Not sure, but that was pretty cool. And so my whole thing is that, like I said, I thought it would be pretty standard. 75th anniversary NHRA season is the season after next. We'll have a new title sponsor. However, which direction NHRA goes in that, I believe, in that 75th anniversary season, we see kind of a schedule overhaul, a change, kind of spruce it up a little bit, do some little different stuff in 2026. That would be. So I like it, but I'm curious to see what the TBAs are though coming up.
Yes, the TBAs obviously are something that you look at and they stand out overall in that schedule. I think we also have got to realize we're in a time when we look across motorsports that tracks having longevity as a place in which you roll into and have a race, that might not always be the case. We're going to see tracks go away. We're going to see tracks come on. We're going to see tracks you wonder why are they not on, and they go away and they come back, and you have a lot of movement, whereas in the past that might not have been the case. For example, Phoenix, whatever deal there was that was going to cause that track to go away, it fell through. It doesn't work out. Now we've got it back with the racing school in partnership, and we're going to go back to that great facility and have NHRA drag racing there once again. You know, you mentioned Virginia Motorsports Park. Tommy Franklin has mentioned that, hey, having the national event, it is not financially wise. He has said that. What could be worked out with that great facility, arguably the best surface maybe in the world, clearly the nation, and go back there and do drag racing with NHRA Camping World Series, once again, Top Fuel, Fuel Funny Car, Pro Stock Motorcycle. What could be worked out there? And what I find most fascinating about the TBAs is, yes, as you stated, Flying H, we fully expect is one of those dates. But how are they going to play that date? Are they going to say, hey, we need you to get this thing done by the early date, not like a month and a half to get things up and ready to go? Or are we going to a situation of a Western swing starting in one of the strangest places we've ever seen and make a trek back to the great land of the North in NHRA professional touring series?
You talking about Canada?
Yes.
That would be a great possibility. I mean, but is that technically Western though? I mean, come on. It's the Western swing. Is it technically Western Canada?
What is it with people in like Canada? They lose all sense of geography. And
I know there's a western part of Canada, Edmonton. I know it's in the mountain time zone, but it's like if it's the Western swing, you know, it should be on the West Coast. I'm just saying, you know, it's close to the West Coast. You know, just me personally.
like is Denver anywhere near the Pacific?
It's closer than Edmonton, right? I think.
To me, that is the most intriguing part of the schedule.
No, I agree.
How do they open up the Western swing? Because when you look at the schedule, there's still a 3-race block. So there is some type of intention there to have a Western swing. Now, let's say you do it with Flying H, hypothetically. You are still using an area, though it's not West and West Coast, it is a traditional near gateway to the West City type of situation, and they could play off of that. But it would be cool to see it actually in the West, wherever that is.
No, for sure, and I'm fine wherever they go. Obviously, I'm just joking. Whether that is Edmonton, Rad Torque Raceway, or Flying H. I always thought it was a little. I don't know how fast it takes to build drag strips, especially state-of-the-art drag strips, which are on the NHRA level, national event level. But I thought it was pretty aggressive that they said, "Hey, you know, we're going to start building this track now and have it ready for next season." So curious to see. You know, I don't know, how development has gone so far, but I'm curious to see, what it's looking like by that time next season. I'm really curious to see. Hopefully, it's a state-of-the-art drag strip though.
Mark Revelis, he took some great aerial shots of it, and that facility and that land is definitely dominated by a pristine dirt track. It's going to be interesting, the layout and the pits and parking, and I'm sure, and there has been conversation. Joe Costello has had an interview, and Ron Capps has had an interview with the individuals there in play, and they have a plan, they have a vision, they're working on it. It's going to be interesting to see how it all comes together. I will say this. If a place like Epping, New Hampshire, and a place like Pacific Raceways can handle and hold a national event, Flying H will do fine. It might just be a situation where you don't have a mass grouping of categories, such as alcohol might not race there, for example. You might not have pro stock motorcycle there, for example, or pro mod there on the grounds as well. But if you look at what is on the docket for an Epping and for Pacific Raceways, certainly I think a Flying H is going to be able to handle that scenario.
No, for sure. And I believe, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they had like a pretty big car show there this past weekend, and that was a pretty good turnout. Yeah.
Yes.
And my whole thing is, and like you said, like if Epping or Pacific Raceways can hold a national event, Flying H can as well. I'm just from the standpoint of, if we're big time drag racing, national event level drag racing, I think these newer facilities that are being built should be state of the art facilities. Maybe not in year one, but I think that should be the ultimate goal moving forward, is building state of the art arenas to race on.
I agree. I think being professional and being the top in the world, don't forget the Epping, New Hampshires. Don't forget the Pacific Raceways, but keep making way and building these great facilities. Maybe they don't have to be the size of ZMAX, but nonetheless, they are state of the art.
I'll tell you what, Lee, like a guy from Los Angeles, California, I have a lot more fun in the media center at ZMAX Dragway with the catering, free food, AC, rather than somewhere in Pacific Raceways in a small little media box in the middle of nowhere. I'll take a ZMAX any day.
Hey, Pacific Raceways was nice.
I never been. I'm joking. I'm just throwing out there. I never been, but I've been to some pretty sketchy media centers, and I tell you, I'll take a ZMAX any day.
ZMAX does have an impressive media center. They really do. They really do it.
I think we lost the Monday morning racer again. Again, he's somewhere in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Indiana. I think Lafayette, Indiana. I don't know if that's the middle of nowhere, but obviously his connection is kind of going awry right now. Like Ron Cap said, it might be the glasses that's sucking away all his Wi-Fi. We'll wait till he comes back. We're going to take a quick break and see if we can bring back the Monday morning racer before we wrap up the Competition Plus Power Hour. You back, Lee?
I am back. Yes.
Nice.
What
were you saying now?
I'm back.
Couldn't hear what you're saying.
I don't know. I lost train of thought and Wi-Fi at the same time. So I'm just happy to be back.
What a show we had, though. All 4 number 1 seeds in each professional category in the NHRA Camping World Drag Racing Series. Justin Ashley, Ron Capps, Dallas Glenn, and Gage Herrera. Obviously, your champ. I guess you could say championship favorites going into the countdown, which kicks off this weekend. Really, all 4 guests engaging, gave us some great insight, and man, it's gonna be a wild countdown, man.
It is going to be a wild countdown, and I'm looking forward to every championship battle. I think we're going to have great battles, and we just had 15 minutes with each driver, and wanted to keep it close to the countdown. That's why they're on. Thanks to Elin Werner for always helping us out with the booking and getting these top seeds in their respective classes on tonight to chat with them. Darren, I'm going to be a part of the deciding of a championship battle this weekend. There is a tight battle going into State Capitol Raceway for Funny Car Chaos, the Chaos Cajun Nationals. The number 2 players, though there are a couple of others involved, Kirk Williams, defending Funny Car Chaos champion, and Tom Furchess in the Made America Funny Car, the engineer who has engineered an effort through the B field to be right there. We're talking about like 6 points separate Kirk and Tom.
Which is, in Funny Car Chaos land, that is less than a round of racing between those 2 guys right there.
Matter of fact, it is only 1 point over just showing up for qualifying.
Man. And then here's the thing, too. So, like you said, Kirk Williams, not the dominant season we saw last year. Still a pretty good, decent season. I think anybody would take the season Kirk Williams has had this season. But last year, obviously dominated. Has a little bit more of a fight on his hands here in 2023. And also, a little bit of history, trying to, become only the second guy in history to win two Funny Car Chaos championships. So a lot on the line for Kirk Williams out of State Capitol Drag Race this weekend.
And Tom Furchess, history for him. If he is able to go out there and win the championship, he will be the first champion to do so, not from the A field, but one of the other fields. So there is a lot of history online for Funny Car Chaos at State Capitol. And it worked out. I think this is going to be such a great place to have the championship finals. Look at the weather. It looks like it's going to be warm, but we're going to be dry, and we're going to have some spectacular racing with a fan base that ate up Chaos last time. And they have been waiting all year for this very race because they had the earlier date postponed to the end of the season. And now they're part of the deciding factor in the Funny Car Chaos Champion.
And there was a guy, I forgot who it was though, but he said he'll see you at State Capitol Raceway this upcoming weekend. But like you said, I believe State Capitol is supposed to be the second race. Doug, yeah. I believe this race was supposed to be the second race on the Funny Car Chaos schedule after the Classic in Dallas. But like you said, with weather, it got pushed back to the final event. So a big time championship battle between two great drivers. There's some drivers with some outside chances. So Lee, enjoy yourself, have fun, and obviously bring us the great top end, obviously, the great pit reporting also, but the great top end interviews as well. A little sad though, because obviously it's not the final time for you, because you obviously still have the finale in Nitro Chaos, but a little sad that it's the final time for Funny Car Chaos here in 2023.
It always is. When you have something come to a close, you look back on it and you have enjoyed it, and you have the sense that you're blessed and privileged and honored to be a part of it, and yet you're automatically looking ahead. Mm-hmm. And I am the type of person that I have a very hard time in the moment enjoying something, honestly. Mm-hmm. I am oftentimes looking ahead, and in the moment, if I do not have dividends early on, I'm frustrated even in the moment. Mm-hmm. But it's a scenario where you look back on all the hard work, you look back on the stories, and you look about what my role is, and it's to tell the story of the racer, where people don't just see a car going down the track. And I believe I do a good job of that in telling the story of the racer and trying to get different angles. And it has been wonderful to be on the top end and get those reactions and those emotions in that moment of winning. Like, I think just back this past weekend, a couple weekends ago there at MoCan, you have Keith Zimmermer, he red lights in the final round of the Carney makeup race. Jeff Cameron didn't see the red light. He didn't see his win light. He didn't know he won. And I'm walking up to Jeff Cameron. He's like, I won. And I'm Keith Zimmer threw it away with a red light. He's like, thank you, dude. Thank you. And you get these moments. He's like, you gave me one back. And I think of Gary Pritchett at the East Coast Funny Car Chaos race. After he gets done speaking with Wayne Hoffman, he's getting the gear off. He takes the helmet off, and I say, congratulations, Mr. Pritchett, after a long setup waiting for him to get the gear off. And he's like, this is the biggest win of my career. And look at all that Mr. Pritchett has done from the racing in NHRA and elsewhere, like with Steve Torrance. So getting those moments. Another thing that I have experienced with doing the top end, I think for the sake of like an Amanda Busick, a Joe Costello, a Jason Galvin, whoever is working the top end at the NHRA, they need to work something out with the teams. Stop telling the drivers on the radio that they won times and their mile per hour.
For sure.
Stop.
For sure.
Taking away an element that is unique to drag racing, that interviewer is able to start walking towards that car, and that's a sign of, did I win? Did I win? Oh, I won. And then I think of the reaction of Kirk Williams. He went low ET at MoCan for the MoCan race, and I'm able to say, Mr. Williams, you're low ET 368. He's like, wow. And he gets and there's that reaction. It plays into drag racing, and it gives opportunity for that interviewer to get that emotion and for us all to enjoy it. The NHRA is doing a disservice, or Fox is doing a disservice to the Amanda Busicks, the Joe Costellos, the Jason Galvins. Turn the radios off.
Yeah, the Steve Evans effect. And like you said, these interviews don't have to be live. I know it's live TV, but you can still show these tape delay interviews live on Fox. And you don't always have to bring them over to that little small blue Camping World logo in the ground, have them stand there and they're waiting 2-3 minutes to be interviewed. No, go right up to them as soon as they make the turn off into the shut on the return road. Walk up to them and interview them. They don't know anything. Right. They don't know the times. They don't know the reaction. Right. They haven't seen the time slip. Just go up to them and get that raw reaction. And that's what we all want to see. And so, you know what I'm gonna do once we get off this show, I'm gonna rewatch what happened on Fox between Amanda and Eric. I haven't seen it yet, so I want to check that out. I heard that was pretty good. So I'm gonna check that once we get off here. I heard that was pretty spicy. So.
Me too, and I haven't heard Amanda's entire question. Well, I haven't heard Amanda's entire question. I hear like a cut off version of it, so I don't know exactly what her setup was, the whole part. I see Erica's reaction. Let me say this. I've seen a lot of people say that Amanda asked a dumb question. Well, I don't know. I haven't heard the whole question. But if we are talking about it on this show and you're talking about it on social media and it has caused that emotion, it wasn't that dumb. Amanda actually asked a pretty good question to get that out of Erica. That's her job.
It was all staged. It was for the hype. They wanted to get some commotion. It was all staged. They went to dinner that night. I bet they went to dinner that night.
Probably did, for all I know. Probably did, for all I know. I mean, look, like there's times. I'll give you a great example. It is my job to go to Randy Meyer Racing after Rachel Meyer beats Megan Meyer, who we all expected it would be the other way around, and say, Rachel, you're not the one we expected to win, and get that story.
I'll be a little offended if you walked up to me and said that to me. Like, honestly, you get some raw emotion from me if you said that to me. Honestly, like, what are you trying to say? If I was Rachel, I'd be like, what exactly are you trying to say, Lee?
Well, that comes from earlier in the weekend. Megan's like, yeah, we got all these cars here. We're going to get as many points as I can and win this championship. It's like, oh.
But no, it's a good question, though, and it gets that emotion out of her. Saying that, I'm pretty sure it fires her up when she hears that and says, no, I want to go out and beat my sister Megan, who obviously is the favorite.
Rachel said, she's like, I'm sick and tired of losing my sister. I'm like,
yeah. Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. So, yes, we got great battles in Funny Car Chaos and Nitro Chaos, by the way. We can talk about that next week. Look, last thing I do want to say, and again, we can continue talking, enjoy it with you and everyone out there watching along, of you all that are still here. Hey, hit the like button, hit the share button for us. Thank you for watching.
Yeah. Do
not skip out on regional action in the NHRA. I went to Tri-State Raceway and covered NHRA Division 5 divisional and regional action. The land of the high and mighty. Division 5 is the high and mighty in the NHRA. Like, wow. Well, there, Mr. Duty, the division director, great event ran by him. It went smooth. It ran on time. Tri-State Raceway is beautiful as a facility as it is. It's concrete from like everywhere, but it actually doesn't have lights, interestingly enough. So they do have a time limit, a natural time limit, and everything worked out well. Look, there was only 3 top alcohol dragsters, and there was only 5 alcohol funny cars, which 5 alcohol funny cars is actually very typical. It seems like here recently, the only national event that had a full field so far has been the U.S. Nationals. But I just want to make a remark that though the regionals don't get the glitz and the glamours of the national events, they are extremely important in the economy of NHRA drag racing. The sportsman race, the future of the sport. For example, you had someone like a Fiona Crisp who wants to continue in her drag racing career away from Australia and do even more drag racing here. Well, you encounter her first at regional events. She was over here last year, runner-up to Aaron Cooper at the Topeka Regional. Here she is in Iowa, sets a track speed record with Randy Meyer Racing at Tri-State Raceway and a regional, and she's about to make her first ever national event debut in Reading with Randy Meyer Racing. Well, you're able to encounter her first at regionals. You see a Jared Dreer pick up a win that him and his family, that you can tell they wanted it. even more than wanting it, they needed it. He was very emotional with that win. So what if there is 3 cars? It was important to him. It was important to his family. And Bob McCosh gets momentum back. He feels that win at Tri-State Raceway, even though there was 5 funny cars and you could argue he was the top dog, well, it is a win that he looks at, and we've got our momentum back to go chase down Doug Gordon. Regional action is just as important in NHRA as national events.
And I'll tell you what, as a longtime drag racing fan as I am, I've never been to a regional event. I know they have them usually a lot at Las Vegas, just never been able to make it out. But I told myself this first weekend of October, they have a regional event in Bakersfield, Famoso Drag Strip, and I'm planning to go out there and check out my first ever regional. Not sure what heavy hitters are going to be there. Don't matter. I just want to check out some good alcohol action and alcohol drag or alcohol funny car. My guy, Jerron Settles, the Flying Airbrush, who races Super Comp, should be there. So should be a fun event. Want to check it out, and looking forward to it.
You will enjoy it. It's a different pace, and it's something. Don't worry about the car count. You go find those storylines. You see who's there and why they're there, and their purpose being there, and move on with that. So, I enjoy the regional action. It was also good. Thanks to Warren Evans, was able to help out and do some work on the NHRA stream for NHRA.tv and the NHRA YouTube channel. So that was also very cool.
You know what I'm really going to Bakersfield for, though? It's not really for the racing. It's for Cope's Nutty Pine, for the chicken fried steak. That's where I'm really going.
That was good.
The racing is just the added bonus. I'm really going for the chicken fried steak.
Racing's added bonus. Chicken fried steak was good. And the
potatoes. The potatoes were amazing.
The potatoes were good. And the waiting staff was very nice as well.
Yeah, it was. It was. I cannot say that. I'm not going into that. I'm going for the food.
Sure.
Don't get me in trouble here.
You already are.
You're right.
Anything else, Darren?
Nah, that's pretty much it. I think we covered everything. Again, thank you to all 4 of our number 1 seeds for coming on the show tonight. Justin Ashley, Ron Capps, Dallas Glenn, and Gage Herrera. Like I said, giving us some great insight, great conversation. And everybody, please like this show and share this show and let everybody know we're talking everything drag racing here on the Competition Plus Power Hour. And I'm looking forward to it. This is it's a great time of year. Championship drag racing, championships on the line, playoff drag racing. Don't get no better than this. It's high stakes, a lot of drama, real intense. Looking forward to these next 6 weekends. It's going to be a lot of fun, and can't wait to see who's going to be the champion, holding the championship trophy and capturing NHRA glory at the NHRA World Finals in Pomona, California, just a few months. That's also my birthday weekend, so that's why it always culminates around my birthday at Pomona. So fun time right now, and see how it all plays out. Interested to see how it all unfolds.
Yes. Hey, to answer Andrew's question, I only expect 2 or 3 new teams next year. I mean, obviously we got confirmed Jasmine Salinas, Travis Shoemake. Will he make some starts next year? I expect it, but I don't know how many. You got to remember, he was testing, as you mentioned there in the comment, he was actually not doing licensing runs. He was very clear about that. I had a brief conversation with it. He's like, I'm testing my new car. And that has an alliance, if you will, with Scrappers Racing. I think you may see several new drivers, not teams, drivers, because you have a similar scenario in Top Fuel drag racing as you do even in the A Fuel side of things in Top Alcohol Dragster. You can do a rent-a-ride program with Top Fuel. And you do see some of those cars out there even now in the field. So I think you're going to see that. You may see 4 to 5 new drivers.
But have you noticed, though, and I know we got to get out of here because we covered a lot, but what I think is really cool is, like, when I was coming up, watching drag racing in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, you had Amato as a team owner, Bernstein as a team owner, Donna Snake Perdome as a team owner, all these legends, hiring these young guns to drive their race cars. And I kind of went away for a little bit if you think about it. You had the super teams with Don Schumacher Racing and Alan Abbey, and obviously Don Schumacher raced, but he wasn't like, a legend on par as, with the Snake and all those guys. We're kind of seeing that now again with Antron, Ron Capps, Larry Dixon, who's putting Cody Crone and Will Smith in his cars. That time's starting to come back a little bit, and I dig that.
Yes, I agree. And we are seeing the revolving yet evolving of the sport, and it is a good thing, I think. And it is good to hear that Ron Capps wants that driver development program. It's good to see Antron carrying out what has been a dream and a vision, and we're going to have that driver development program because I think it's going to go far beyond NGL. I think that's just the start. I think that's to get it rolling and going. But it is good to have these programs firing up in the sport, and I hope many other programs fire up in the sport for it. Scott, what in particular about the alcohol classes? We had a decent discussion on alcohol. What in particular?
Come on, Scott. We're trying to go home, man. Come on, Scott. What all the questions, man? I'm trying to go home. I'm kidding, Scott.
You already are home. I'm the only one that's not home.
I'm kidding, Scott. I'm kidding. Keep the questions coming, man. We love them.
I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, Illinois.
Oh, you're in Illinois, not Indiana. I keep saying Indiana. You're in Illinois. Okay.
I have not made it to Indiana yet.
Gotcha.
I have not made it to Indiana yet.
Okay.
All right,
he says
Scott. Funny car.
He says sorry. I'm kidding, Scott. I'm kidding.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah. So what in particular? I will say this from Funny Car to sum it up. Everybody feels like they're chasing Doug Gordon, that Doug Gordon's running away with it.
Yeah, but Bellemere has something to say about that at the U.S. Nationals, though. I say that
he did. He stopped him, and I mentioned to Bob McCosh. I said, Bob, yeah, you need to tell Sean thank you, and he's like, I did.
Nice.
And Bob, he even admitted, he's like, he plans on going to the regional that's at St. Louis, and he's like, I don't have to go there. I'm gonna go there to block Gordon. So. Look, the strategies and the block, it's all about to go down in the alcohol classes because we have got a very good points battle right now between the likes of Tony Stewart, Julie Natus, Sean Cowie. Mathematically, there's other people that can be in play as well. Like, I don't think we've seen the last of Joey Severance this year, the defending champion. We haven't seen the last of him. And he might come roaring back quite literally. But right now, Doug Gordon is obviously the man on top. He has made it clear he wants another championship before he is out of a ride, because it's definite he's out of a ride. Did you see what his daughter did in the car? Yeah, he's out of a ride. But nonetheless, you have got people like Bob McCaw, Sean Bellemere. They want to change that narrative, but it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a challenge to knock Doug Gordon off. They certainly have the momentum at this point.
And I think the ultimate show of respect is, Gordon, dominant season, favorite to win the championship right now. But, I'm pretty sure in your final season behind the wheel of a top alcohol funny car, you want to go out winning the U.S. Nationals, and to come up just that short, but to still have the sportsmanship to take a picture with Bellemere in the pits, with a cigar and a drink in his hand. I thought that was pretty cool, to show the sportsmanship right there. And, it's going to be a great battle towards the end. I think I know who you want to win in top alcohol dragster. I'm pretty sure. It's got to guess. So,
What?
I know who you want to win in top alcohol dragster, the championship. I know. We ain't got to say it, though.
Well, I've actually said well before we even got to this battle that I would prefer to see someone that is been in the class to win it over Tony Stewart. Granted, I do see the pros at Tony Stewart winning it. And if he does go win it, he won it. He earned it. Do not get me wrong in the Phillips camp. There's a lot of great storylines in the top alcohol dragster class. I just hope, let's say Sean Cowie wins it. Let's say Julie Natus wins it. Let's say Joey Severance wins it. Okay. I just hope we don't see an Auto Week, a Speed Sport, a whatever brand out there of media coverage write this title. Stewart loses title 2 when it should be wins top alcohol dragster title. And I frankly fear we're going to see that Stewart loses 2 instead of them getting their full due.
Hey, it gets the clicks though. I know what you mean, but it gets the clicks.
It does.
No,
and that has nothing to do with Tony. It's not his fault. Okay.
Yeah.
He is a legend in motorsports, and he is adding to that legend. And I'm glad to see it because there's so few true motorsportists in the vein of a AJ Foyt and an Andretti and a Danny Ungaius and a Dan Gurney and those type of individuals that were multi-talented with a wheel, no matter what that wheel was attached to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad he's doing what he's doing in the modern day. So few have done that. The only one recently I can think of would be like John Andretti that had done such caliber of transferring in and out of motorsports. But nonetheless, I think we'll see those type of titles. I hope we don't, but I think we will.
Yeah, and obviously Tony Stewart, like you said, a legend in not just NASCAR racing, but a legend in motorsports. And you got to respect him for how all in he is in drag racing. Like, he is all in. He has his own team. His wife drives. He's driving. He's winning races. You got to respect the guy for how all in he is. But I got to say that I'm pretty sure these other competitors in Top Alcohol Dragster does not want to see a rookie come in from another sport come in and win a championship first year out. I know they don't want to see that. So they're going to
I'm sure they don't. I'm sure they don't. Look, they love having him there, but you can't tell me that they're like, "Oh, we'll be glad if Tony went." No.
I agree.
That'd be like a Nitro guy going to Pro Stock and winning the championship. They would hate to see.
Oh man,
I mean, it's just, gosh. I mean,
that would start a riot. That would start a riot.
It would. It would. Warren Johnson would show up.
Oh man. Yeah.
Hey, shout out to all the Nitro classes who did less oiling down of the track on Monday than Pro Stock.
Wow. You really went there. You really went there. Dang.
Yeah.
I mean, never mind. I was gonna say we're gonna go there, but no, let's not do it. I don't want to get in trouble. Let's not go there. We already every show we're always this close to getting canceled.
We're close. We're close. We're so close. We're so close. Folks, it has been a pleasure and a privilege to talk drag racing with you. Hey, bring a friend next time, and let's talk drag racing next Tuesday, right here on CompetitionsPlus.com, and it's Power Hour. I'm Lee Kraft, aka the Monday Morning Racer. That is
the guy with the braids, Darren Williams Jr., along with my guy, the guy with the shades, MMR Lee Kraft.
Folks, thank you. We'll catch you all later.